All right, traders, so watch this video for Tuesday, February 12th. Look at the SPY here. A really kind of dead day. You can see how narrow the range was on the SPY. Contrast that with, look back for the last couple weeks. It's one of the smallest candles as far as the range from low to high on the day. So it was a pretty boring day. Still pretty proud of this call right here. If you weren't in the chat room today, I called EOLS. This is the opening 5-minute candle, this one right here that I'm hovering over. I called it as an opening range breakout. But as I always say, I don't guess on any trade. That doesn't mean I make money on every trade, but I can give you 2 or 3 reasons why I take a trade. And if I can't, I won't call it. We had a long discussion about this in chat today. So what are the reasons? It's the strongest stock in the world the last few days, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then it puts in a fairly narrow opening range. But it's still, I'm not just going to take this over the high of day. But when you couple the fact that it's a recent high flyer, right, one of the strongest stocks out there, fairly narrow opening range. So if we break the high of day, do I have catalysts, or I should say potential catalysts above? I've got the whole number 28. You know we love whole number breaks. But even then, 28 means nothing to me. Except now look. It coincides with Friday's high. So now we've got an opening range breakout on one of the strongest stocks in the world recently. So if we light up the new highs ticker, shorts might cover, which might be enough momentum to get me through 28, which also happens to be Friday's high. Oh, what's above Friday's high? Thursday's high. So 1 catalyst, 2 catalysts. I drew lines there. So the entry's here. Stop's going to be below the trigger candle. And you've got dominoes ready to fall. Friday's high. Thursday's high. And so it's just a matter of time. You time an entry like this and then you're just scaling out, right? You're not red even for a second. So there's a perfect example of why I called that trade. I had stacked catalysts on a recent high flyer, whole number above on top of all that. And it just worked out perfectly. Now contrast that with some people out there who teach courses and they literally, so you're in their chat room and opening bell rings and you hear, I'm long XYZ. Right? Or I'm long, let me think of one today. I think it was AVCO, right? I'm long AVCO at the open, right? That's not a trade. It's a coin flip. When the market opens and a stock's gapping, it can do anything, right? It could gap and run. It could gap and tank. It could chop sideways for an hour. It could take out the high of day, then the low of day, then the high of day again, then the low of day again, and just burn longs and shorts. If there's no setup where you're jumping in at that exact inflection point type moment that we teach in our course, right, with catalysts above, so you should be green right away and only worried about scaling out. If there's none of that, you're just guessing. So if you're following a moderator, if somebody's out there, moderating a chat room and saying, I'm long XYZ at the open, ask yourself. I mean, it might run. It might run, and then some schmuck who just joined the room and is a newer trader makes a bunch of money. He thinks he's found the holy grail of trading, and he's guaranteed he's going to get his ass handed to him down the road because following anybody who's just randomly jumping in a stock. Now, keep in mind, if a guy's running a room and he's got 1,000 or 2,000 people that want to be rich and want to make $7,000 on a trade, right? He's got a little bit higher odds than someone just buying any random stock at the open because he's got a big push. Well, even that didn't work on this one. But to add insult to injury, so another room moderator calls this at the open. It comes down. I don't know, the guy adds or something, gets a little bounce, he's out, and then everyone else gets their ass handed to him. And then you have to go watch the video and see that he made money on that. Now, ask yourself this. If you ever chase somebody, or you buy randomly, right? You're following someone, you're chasing someone. Ask yourself this. If you lose on it and he makes money on it, well, let me rephrase it. If he makes money on it, even though it's ugly, it ends up ugly, where did that money he made come from? For everybody who makes money in the market, there's somebody on the other side of that trade losing money. Always ask yourself that. If somebody's calling random crap and you're following them and they keep making money and you keep losing money, ask yourself where that money's coming from. I hate to tell you this, spoiler alert, it's coming from you and everyone else who's just happy to jump in after this person. Now, on a bright note, if you follow them on Twitter, you get to look at all their new shiny cars and help them pick the color. So if that makes you happy, I'm happy for you. But man, there are some charlatans out there, and I just highly recommend actually learning to trade. Learn setups, so man, you don't even need to follow anybody. You don't even need to be in a chat room. You just know, hey, there's a low risk inflection point with 2 catalysts above on a recent high flyer, maybe a lot of shorts in the name. And this is right here. This spot right here is where this thing should rip. That's when I'm getting involved. Learn to do that. All right? Quit chasing people. I'm sick of watching people get their ass handed to them and knowing that some schmuck who comes off as being a nice guy, which makes him even seem like less of a snake, but in reality, it makes him more of a snake. I'm sick of watching people never have a chance to become a day trader, because it's literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it didn't happen to me. I made it happen. I worked my ass off. So, I self-taught. I always say this, and some people don't believe me, and some people say, well, you have no credibility if you are self-taught from a General Motors assembly line using a laptop and an air card, but that's exactly what I am. I'm just some schmuck who worked on an assembly line and Shawshank redemptioned my way off of it by teaching myself to trade. And so I try to share what I've learned with others, and then I see people like that just literally destroying any chance of a trading career by teaching people terrible stuff like this. All right, I had said a long time ago I wasn't going to rant anymore, but sometimes I just get annoyed and I let it go. I'm not that excited about my list for tomorrow. I do have overstock on watch. You could also look at this as kind of a failed breakout this last week through 20, and now it's rolling back over. But the way I look at it, and I'll zoom in a little bit, had really nice volume back here, and then it's kind of basically, if you picture lines right here and right here, it's basically gone into a range, and now it's kind of working its way back down, maybe to the bottom of the range. We might get a bounce off the 20, something like that. But it's been hot enough lately, a hot enough stock lately, that I do want to watch it. Same thing with AMRS. This thing felt extended to me, especially when it broke this flag on the daily on Friday and hit the 200-day and reversed and didn't follow through. I saw that and I thought to myself, well, this does need to come in. And so now it's done that. So I definitely want to watch it tomorrow. I'd like to see it actually come down closer to the 450 area, and then I'd be more interested, but I do want to watch it. And again, I'm not in love with this list today. NIO has had trouble with this, I want to say 8 area, but it's probably closer to 820, around here, again here, and then tried to break out last week. And now you've got a 3-day pullback right into the 20. So this is kind of a little cup and handle, and this is the handle part of it. So I am going to watch this for a bounce tomorrow. MLNT, really strong stock, topped out right around $2. Couple days lower on declining volume. Decent setup, but not in love with it. JVA, I mean, there's a lot of thin, kind of cruddy looking charts if you ask me, but hoping something will show up in the gap playlist tomorrow or some intraday news plays or something. But anyway, JVA, another real thin one. It only traded 161,000 today, but a big pop here, pullback, a secondary pop, and maybe we get a tertiary pop. Who knows? It's had trouble with 7, but it closed stronger today than it did the last 2 days, so maybe a push through 7 could get us through these recent 705 kind of lower highs and maybe retest this high. Just watch the volume and the spreads on that one. I even, I'm in trouble when I have Riot on my list, but Riot, tried to break out on Friday and then kind of put in a quiet, lower volume inside day. And this is going to do probably whatever Bitcoin does. And I don't trade with a Bitcoin chart up, but some of these old Bitcoin plays, if Bitcoin gets a bid tomorrow, then Riot might just be right back off to the races. So I do want to watch it. PTI, really nice move today. I'll give you the range. It went from 321 to 444 before settling in at 391. So maybe a red to green in that one tomorrow. And WORX didn't quite get to 1 million shares today. I had it on bounce watch, but the reason I didn't call this is it had traded before it did this, which was probably a chat room somewhere. Before it did that, it had traded, I don't know, 2,000 shares, a little over 2,000 shares. So there was no liquidity, and then it did that. It moved up so quick it halted, then it did that. And so I doubt that I'll trade this one tomorrow. It's stupid thin, but it had this huge move back here and now seems to have found support. This might be my least liked watch list I've had in a long time. That doesn't mean I'm not confident that we'll find stuff to trade tomorrow, but I got to tell you, I couldn't find much, and that often happens after a dead day. So I think we'll find plenty to trade tomorrow once we look at the gap playlist and maybe some earnings plays and stuff like that. So, all right, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm done babbling. We'll see y'all in chat tomorrow. Have a good night.